Hey guys, welcome back to this second video on a two-part set, all about the term martial art and what that really means. If you haven't, excuse me, if you haven't seen it already, go back and watch the first one. That first video, I might delete and redo. The sound quality in that first video was terrible. I was using it in another room in the house and it was echoey. And so I might redo it. If you watch it and you think that it should be redone, drop me a comment, let me know. I might just redo it. But at any rate, I wanted to do this second one. I'm in my office now. So my name is Darren Dumas. I am the owner and instructor of Bujinkan Budo Dojo here in Roseville, California. And I'm making these videos to just share some of my insights. I've been training in this art and other arts and stuff for 40 years. I don't actually even know the exact number. It's a long time. I know it's close to 40, but anyway, long enough that I have experienced a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of different things. I have lots of friends all over the world that train in different arts, and we have these crazy discussions. And yeah, I train constantly. I'm always training. So it's not like I sit all up in my head and everything and not actually train. It's just that these are questions that get brought up, and it's always interesting to talk about them and to explore what other people think. So I started this video series, this two-part series on the term martial art and what that really actually means, because the term martial art, as I said in my other video, is it's a vague, generic, overused, cliche term that applies to all kinds of different things, whether it's a sport or traditional art or a fitness program or a self-defense program. The term martial art is used as kind of a catch-all label, but when you actually look at the term martial art is comprised of two words, martial and art. And in the first video, I actually talk about, is your art martial, and what that really means. And you can go back and watch that. But just in a nutshell, martial has to do with military and war. And are you really training for war? Are you really training for military? Because if you're about to go to war, would you want to go down to the local dojo, whatever, and train in that? Or would you join the military or be in law enforcement and learn that to be able to protect your country and your community? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. But this video itself goes into the second word, which is art. And this is something that I think is overlooked a lot, because the definition of art is really interesting. It actually has two types of definitions, and you can look it up. But the word art, you have arts like music and painting and that sort of stuff, and dancing, and it involves creativity. It's human creativity. And that's the first definition of art. And then you have this other definition that actually is a skill that is acquired through practice. And that would be defined as like the art of. So, the art of underwater basket weaving, right? You learn this skill through practice. And it's interesting because if you really think about it, they're almost kind of opposite in a way, that you have this creativity, but then over here you have a subject that you learn through practice. So the term art really is a blend of these two. It's the idea that you learn something through practice and then you apply it in a creative way. So if I'm going to learn, let's say I'm going to learn how to dance, and which I really need to learn how to dance, but I would take classes to learn how to dance. Let's say I want to learn how to do salsa dancing, right? Very sexy. Salsa dancing is cool, right? The music is cool. I love it. It's fantastic. So I wanted to learn salsa. I would sign up for a class, and you would actually have to learn specific steps and patterns of how to move your body where to step, learn the rhythm of the music and how to coordinate the body, your body parts, and articulate things in order to meet the rhythm of the music while moving in certain patterns. And then when you have a partner, you're moving in a relationship with that partner where the two of you become one unit moving together. And you're learning that. But then when you go out and you're performing, or let's say you're just going to go out and go dancing, you're not going to just do what you learn in class. You're going to let yourself just go and you're just going to move. But the way you move is going to be salsa dancing. It's just going to be coming from you. It's going to be coming from your own creative juice in the moment of how you're just moving your body and dancing. And so in martial arts, it's interesting because in the term art, the art in a martial art is that type of process that you're learning these ways of moving your body, you're learning these techniques, and then eventually you're also learning it with a partner to be able to work with them. But then there has to be this art flip where you have to then be able to apply it in a creative concept, apply it through a natural expression of yourself. The same analogy can be applied, let's say, in painting. I can go and learn Michelangelo's school of painting, and I can learn how to paint all these great Renaissance paintings using the same exact techniques that he used. But then if I want to actually stand out on my own and be my own artist, I can't paint, I can't be Michelangelo. I have to be me. And so I'm going to base my art on my training, on what I received, but I'm going to paint the way that I am inspired to paint. I'm going to paint whatever it is. It might look like a Michelangelo-esque, Renaissance-esque type of painting, but it's going to be uniquely mine. It's going to be my subject, what I wanted to paint, the way I wanted to paint it. And maybe somewhere in my training, maybe I took some Baroque style classes, or maybe I took some modern type of art class or whatever, and some of that gets incorporated into my painting. So it ends up looking like this Renaissance-y, modern twist type of painting. And again, the analogy of salsa dancing, I can learn all the salsa dancing too, right? But maybe I also learn some other type of dancing as well, and that influence will come out. Or maybe I make this hybrid that kind of come out. So that's where something transforms into the other part of an art that you don't want to. The actual art itself is the art of is the martial art. That's the subject. But are you actually training to the level of an art? And I think that's the bigger question. So you go into your class. Your teacher has you train a certain way. You're learning certain patterns of movement. But are you training to the level of art? And what does that mean? So before you can truly be a great artist, you have to master the techniques that are involved. And what makes an art actually an art is when you connect emotion to it. Because that's really what art is about. True art is about emotion. You feel things. It triggers things inside you. That's a painting on a wall. It's paint on a canvas, right? The object itself doesn't carry any emotion to it. It doesn't actually carry any. I mean, you can say what you want. I'll just say it doesn't carry energy. It's a material object, right? But you feel something when you look at it. And that feeling is what gives it value. You look at that painting or that sculpture, or you see that person dance, and it triggers something in you. You hear that music and it just triggers something in you, and you feel something. And that's the other component to an art, that it has that emotion behind it. So are you training to the level of art? Are you putting emotion into what you are training? Because the martial art is just a material object. It's lessons. It's step here, put your hand here, do this, do that. It's just an object, a thing. But does it trigger an emotion? And then do you train from that emotion? That's that's where you take things to the level of art. That there are a lot of martial technicians out there. And I have a video where I talk about the different kinds of martial artists, and it's fun. You can go back and watch it. But one of the things is about martial technicians. And there's something wrong with that. But if you're just a technician, then you don't what I'm trying to think of here, you don't evolve past from technique to art. It just stays at technique. So you're like the guy that can just do paint by numbers and you learn 100 different pictures. And then when you go to paint your own picture without anything, they just give you a blank canvas and say, here you go. All you paint is what one of those paint by numbers paintings show. You can't paint your own painting. And that's the difference. So a martial artist is somebody that bridges that gap. A martial artist is somebody that has the techniques, they train diligently on those, and they continue to train. And then they internalize it themselves. And then there's a deep emotion that comes with that. And from that is where they express the art. That's the difference. And so what it is you're doing when you're training in a martial art is that I challenge you to take a look at what you're doing. And number one, is what you're doing actually teaching you to be an artist? Because there's a lot of great martial systems out there. I mean, you can go back and watch my video on what martial is. There's a lot of different great classes out there. Self-defense classes, whatever, kickboxing, all these kinds of things. But is it teaching you to be an artist? Or is it just teaching you to be a technician? Or is it teaching you to just be in good shape? Or is it teaching you to fight wars? So you have to really take a look at what it is you're doing, and is it truly a martial art? And is it teaching you to be an artist? Now, I want to challenge you on something else. Where is your dependency? Are you depending on that art or that teacher to teach you to be an artist? Or is the dependency really with yourself, that you need to take your training to the level of art? That's something that you have to answer for yourself. Because I can teach somebody all the different techniques in the world, but I can't teach them all the techniques in the world, because I don't know all the techniques in the world. But let's just say I knew all the techniques there are. I could teach you all those techniques, but it's not going to make you an artist. I can't make somebody an artist. But what I can do is I can represent something that triggers that inside them, that triggers that emotion. And once that emotion is triggered, if they embrace that emotion and then allow themselves to then train from that emotion, the artistry comes out. There are some great martial artists out there. And when you watch them move and you see them do things, and it's so high level that you're just like, wow. And it just leaves you filled with this awe. Like you could just watch them. My grandmaster, my Soke for art, he's like that. I can watch him. It looks like poetry in motion. That's the level of art. There are other people who they're very technical, but the way they move, when you watch them move, it's to the level of art because you can see the beauty behind it. And that's the other part to art, is that it's aesthetic. It's beautiful to look at. It's beautiful to experience. And so that, because beauty itself is an emotional trigger. So is your martial art an art? Ask yourself that. And when I say is your martial art, what I'm saying is that is your martial path, your path of training, is it an art? And if you honestly can't answer that, I encourage you to take a look at why. Why is it not an art? Because I've already told you what an art is. So if you're saying it's not, then what do you need to do to make it an art? And the secret is going to lie in you and how you approach it and what you are willing to allow yourself to do. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to just suddenly do whatever you want, pull out of your butt jutsu and throw it out there and say, that's my free expression and it's art. That's, you could, but in my opinion, I mean, that's like just getting some regular person off the street, handing them a canvas and a paintbrush and saying, here you go, and they're going to make this, they're just going to paint something and it's going to be this incredible piece of art. That's not what I mean. If you want to take your training to the level of art, you have to first master the techniques that are there so that you can better express that emotion in an artistic manner in a way that's going to qualify as a quality piece of art. So, you know, if you're doing, let's say, sword, right? There's some fantastic swordsmen out there. You watch them move, and it's just amazing. That took years and years and years and years and years of training, thousands of hours of just the most basic stuff, practiced over and over and over again. And that's what makes an art. You can't just walk in and 6 months later, you're moving at the level of artistry. It just doesn't happen. It takes a long process, and it takes a long process of very consistent, focused practice and development. And most people don't have the discipline for that. They don't have the patience for that. But that's what makes a real artist, is all of the blood, sweat, and tears that they put in to getting themselves to the level where that emotion is expressed clearly and is expressed effectively, and the quality that's behind it is so deep and rich that anybody looking at that, it triggers that in themselves too. And they suddenly become inspired. They suddenly can feel it. They just, that wow factor. They see it and it's, whoa, they recognize the artistry. You know, you think of music, right? If I picked up a guitar and just started, you're not going to go, wow, that guy's an artist. You're going to go, oh, that guy needs to put that down. But let's say you get a famous guitar player and he picks up that guitar. In seconds, once he starts playing, you're going to recognize that quality. You're going to see it. Well, why? We're both playing a guitar. We're both playing what our heart tells us to do in the moment and everything else. The difference is that he's got years and decades of committed, focused practice beyond the level of just learning how to play a guitar. It's a passion. And that's the other component to what makes it an art. It's a passion. It's beyond just an interest. It's beyond just a hobby. You pursue it with a passion, a driving focus, not an obsession, although there are people who are very obsessed behind the art that they do, whatever it is. But it's a passion. You live and breathe this. It becomes a part of you. And that's where it takes it to the level of art. So again, I ask, is your martial art an art? Are you training at the level of artistry or training to be at the level of artistry? And if not, why? So anyway, I hope this caused you to think a little bit, maybe kind of reassess what you're doing and kind of figure out, you know, is this really what I'm wanting for me? Do I really want to be an artist? Be honest with yourself. If you're training in a martial art, but it doesn't mean you got to be a martial artist. You could be a martial whatever, technician, hobbyist, academic, whatever. Just be honest about it. But really kind of dig into it, because I really think that at the core of martial arts students, that we really are attracted to the art behind the art, the actual art. I think that's what we're really attracted to, especially in traditional martial arts, or, you know, arts like the one that my primary martial arts stuff. It's beautiful when you see the people who are high level masters and stuff, and they do stuff. And wow, I mean, that's attractive. and that inspires. Um, and so if if that's what you're motivated by, then understand that that is the artistry behind it, and that it's going to take that level of commitment and work to get to that level of artistry. But you could start today, because even the most famous painters started out in a paint class and learning how to paint. So begin with the end in mind, right? As Stephen Covey writes in his books, 7 Habits of Successful People. Begin with the end in mind. See yourself as that artist. See yourself as that martial artist. But work the acquired skill, and then let the emotion fuel that, and then allow yourself to express from that, so that you can bridge that from technician to artist. And always keep reminding yourself you're an artist. You're an artist. Artists challenge stuff too. This is something else that I think a lot of martial artists could use more of. They, musicians, painters, everything, they always challenge themselves. And it's funny because I actually came from a music background too, and I've also come from an art background. Um, but you talk to anybody who's an artist, and let's take a painter. How many canvases they've torn up and thrown in the trash? How about musicians? How much music have they torn up and thrown in the trash? Writer, I'm a writer too. How many different things I've just throw it away over and over and over again, because we're always challenging ourselves with new ideas and new ways, and trying to make a new chord progression, or is there a new note in there, or an artist, if I do something a little different with this canvas. Artistry is artistry is about challenging boundaries. And that's what artists do, right? When artists put their stuff up in museums, um, it it's designed to challenge you. It challenges you. Sometimes it can make you uncomfortable. Sometimes it can make you happy. Sometimes it can make you sad. But it always, and it's not making you, it's just that it triggers those emotions in you. But it challenges you. Musicians, how many times musicians have produced songs that have been controversial? It's the idea that true artistry it pushes the barriers, it challenges your patterns of thinking and seeing things. So that's the difference when it comes from the technical to the artistry, is that the technical fits in a box, and then the artistry pushes past that box. The artistry challenges things. And whenever you challenge something, you risk failure. Because as long as you stay in this box right here, as long as you keep painting the same paint by numbers, you will always have the same product. And so you can rely on that. There's certainty that's there. But when you transform to the level of artistry, you take chances and risks. There's uncertainty because you don't know if there's going to be success or failure there. And I guarantee this route, you're going to throw the majority of things in the trash. But it takes a lot of torn up canvas to reach that one masterpiece. And so you have to be willing to make those mistakes. Making the mistakes is the biggest part. You have to be true artists, you have to give yourself permission to fail. And that's what really makes a true martial artist. It's not about the perfection. What makes a true artist is about the imperfection. It's about the weakness and the vulnerability. That's why a lot of artists really come from emotionally traumatic backgrounds, because through art they learn to express their pain or emotion. And it's also kind of a source of healing. That's why they have art therapy classes. So for martial arts, you have a very similar kind of approach. A lot of people get into martial arts because they're looking for some sort of therapy for themselves, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical. They're looking for some sort of way to take themselves to the next level, to heal themselves in some way, or to develop themselves in some way. And the the same foundation of why people become artists can exist in the same reason people become martial artists. So think about these things and see how it applies to you, but also know that these things can change throughout time, throughout your experiences. I always make a joke like every 5, 6, 10 years, whatever, I go through a complete revolution in my own thinking. Things happen, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, and now I see everything differently. Same thing's going to happen to you. And I think in artistry, that allows for that. An artist evolves. An artist evolves. So, where where things that just stay in a box don't always evolve. Maybe they get deep, the knowledge level gets deep, but that being connected to that part of yourself, that true free spirit in yourself that wants to express and come out, and having the techniques that can give you the language that you need in order to express that is the process of what a martial art or taking something to the level of art means. So I challenge you to take a look at your own training and ask yourself those hard questions. Am I training to the level of artistry? Am I expressing myself as an artist in what I do? A real artist, not just somebody that makes stuff up, but actually take what I've learned, attach an emotion, and express from that. Am I really doing that? And if not, why not? Am I still here? And why am I scared to break out of that? And so anyway, I think that's probably good enough. I'm going to leave it at that. So thank you for watching. I hope you gained something from this. Please drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. I definitely welcome any and all input, except anything that is negative or just drama based or disrespectful. I don't want that in my comments, but I definitely welcome your thoughts and your input. And if you haven't done it already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can stay connected to me. I'm going to continue to produce more videos, and definitely hit the little bell, notification bell, and that way you can be pinged whenever I post something new. And feel free to share this with people that you think might benefit as well. And even though I come from one martial art, we're all the same. We really are. It doesn't matter your art. We all practice for our own reasons. It's our own martial path. And so that's why it's always good to just have these discussions and talk about these things. Because no matter what art you come from, it all applies. So anyway, again, I appreciate it. And as I always say, be happy, be healthy, and no matter what, just keep training. Thank you.